Alright, back again, and after that last one, went back to the classics, some safe territory, and continuing to make my way through my Frankenstein collection. And we're getting there. Coming down to the end, there's only two left on this one. One now that I've seen another today. Today we took a look at The Ghost of Frankenstein, a 1942 film that becomes increasingly further and further from the original, mostly in terms of small deviations. Now, I already touched on Frankenstein, with its odd little naming quirks, but otherwise, okay. Bride of Frankenstein, personal favorite of them so far, which seems to factor in not at all to Son of Frankenstein. And now we move into Ghost of Frankenstein, which is a bit more of a sequel to Son of Frankenstein. Okay, so this one, it's okay. I'll just get that out of the way. We're getting diminishing returns now here in Frankenstein land, but it's still serviceable. Now, we pick up after the events of Son of Frankenstein, with the only character reprising his role in this one is Bela Lugosi, reprising his role as Igor. Now, Igor was shot and killed at the end of the last one, but that's not going to stop us here. The Frankenstein monster fell into a pit of sulfur, but he's back, just no longer played by Boris Karloff. He's, in this one, being played by Lon Chaney Jr. But you can't tell too much overall. The monster has a slight different look to him and does lack a little bit, but Lon Chaney still does a very good job here. Okay, so we begin with the villagers. Now, the town now seems to be called Frankenstein. They seem to reference it as the town of Frankenstein. That's new, I guess. Okay, sure, whatever. It's better than Mucklefucker. Anyway. And they decide to rid themselves forever of the curse of Frankenstein by blowing up the castle. Not kidding you, that's how this movie starts. They blow up Castle Frankenstein. Sure. Now, they do this because while the monster seems to have been gone, they want to make sure, and they've been seeing Igor, who supposedly died at the end of the last film. After being shot several times, they've been seeing him back and around. Well, Igor is back. I mean, he was hung and didn't die. So now they just decide, okay, now he was shot and didn't die. So it's just becoming Igor's thing of being somehow indestructible. Okay. So, with the castle blown up, Igor finds the Frankenstein monster pretty much broken loose of the sulfur tomb he was put into, and decides to help his friend get resuscitated by tracking down a different son of Frankenstein to give him a lightning-based operation. They go seek out Ludwig Frankenstein. Because I guess there's another Frankenstein. Okay. They vaguely reference Wolfgang Frankenstein from the last film, mostly just talking about him being in exile after the events of the last film. And we see Ludwig going over the notes of both Wolfgang and his father. Now, if you remember from my first review of the original Frankenstein, they changed Frankenstein's name from Victor to Henry to westernize it, I guess. Now, in this one, when looking at the notes, it doesn't say Victor, and it doesn't say Henry, it says Heinrich. So, we're defeating the original purpose of westernizing it by Germanizing it. Okay, sure. So, this movie gets weird pretty quick. Now, Frankenstein's monster is brought to a new town to seek out Ludwig Frankenstein by Igor, who immediately begins causing trouble kills 2 people and tries to carry off a small girl. And then gets arrested. Now, Ludwig Frankenstein is a doctor of the mind, so they want him to examine the creature, and essentially he gets blackmailed by Igor to work on the creature. Now, in trying to take him in, Frankenstein's monster once more kills another of our new Frankenstein's assistants. And I'm losing track of saying Frankenstein so often because it's now the village, the monster, and the doctor. But Frankenstein's monster kills an assistant of Dr. Frankenstein. The third Dr. Frankenstein. Stay with me. So they have him chained up, and he agrees to help with the operation, not just to give him an electrical-based operation. They want to give him a better brain so he won't be so murdery all the time. He wants to put his assistant who died's brain into the monster. Now, he has another assistant, Dr. Boehmer, who supposedly was one of the teachers of the original Frankenstein, just now been overshadowed. Now, Igor hears about this new plan to re-brain the monster and doesn't want to lose his friend, but instead comes up with a plan to get his own brain inside the Frankenstein monster, therefore being connected with his friend and having a powerful, unstoppable body. He convinces Dr. Boehmer to help him in this, because with his powerful, unstoppable body, he would be the proof of his experiments, give Dr. Boehmer all the credit, and as the Frankenstein monster with Igor's brain will try to take over the city, over the country, and become a ruler, he would elevate Dr. Boehmer with him. So, they do. This one's weird. Now, once they realize what the mistake has happened, now the villagers have already noticed that the Frankenstein monster has gone missing and are trying to beat down the door. Now, the Igor Frankenstein is trying to assault his way out, but he runs into a problem of being struck blind because his blood type didn't match the monster and caused sensory failure, I guess. I don't know enough about neurology, but that doesn't sound right to me. But okay. And they end up collapsing the whole castle on this monster. After the new Dr. Frankenstein and his daughter and her fiancé, because there's a love subplot in this one too, get out. Now, that's a good surmise of the plot. Why is it called Ghost of Frankenstein? I'm not entirely sure. I have a guess, but I'm not entirely sure. Now, when he's debating what he should do about the blackmail from Igor, Ludwig Frankenstein has sort of a vision of Heinrich Frankenstein, Henry, that encourages him to do it, and it's kind of this ghostly image, so maybe that's the Ghost of Frankenstein? I don't know. This movie's only an hour and 8 minutes, and it pads itself out by showing scenes from the original Frankenstein. Mostly, then the Dr. Frankenstein and his assistant, oh, do I have his name here? I do not, unfortunately. And his hunchback assisted stealing bodies and then going through the process of animating monsters. So we re-see those scenes. So this one's kind of a lesser one. Still not as bad to get down into 2 territory. So it's a 3. But we're starting to decline here on the Frankensteins. It's a very low 3. 3 MacGuffins for Ghost of Frankenstein. This one was just weird. Now, there's only one more in this collection, House of Frankenstein, but I'm going to hold off on reviewing that one for a while until I catch up on some other Universal movies, because that one has both the Wolfman and Dracula running around, and I should probably get those movies reviewed before I do the Avengers movie of Universal Monsters. Alright, so all for this one. It's worth seeing, but for Bela Lugosi's performance as Igor again alone, but it's weird. I mean, the monster has a subplot about about going back to kidnap the little girl a second time, because he wants her brain in him instead of Igor's. So, this movie's weird.